Good morning, good morning, good morning. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Cheers to you. Cheers to you. May 28th, Wednesday, May 28th, 8 a.m. on the dot. Thank you very much for being here. Appreciate you guys being a part of the Sliwa show, hanging out here on Hoops Talk. Thank you very much for chilling here. Cheers, like I mentioned, whatever you're drinking this morning. I'm enjoying a nice cup of tea. Already 1 cup of coffee in. Already had a lemon water. I got everything going today. We got a fun show today. We got a lot going on, a lot of topics. Moment I finished my show yesterday, 39 topics came up. I turned off, I logged off yesterday. We finished the show. And the moment I get off, there was 37 topics ready to go. I'm like, oh, great. That's awesome. I'll just have to use all those for tomorrow. Thank you for being here. Appreciate you guys hanging out on the show. I got a quote for everybody. I got a rundown that I want to do for everybody. I want to talk a lot of hoops, talk a lot of NBA. Got a couple Laker things I want to get into. Certainly going to read a lot of your comments and make you guys a part of the show as well. And then we'll call it a day. We got Ask Lee at the end of the day as well. All right, a couple things here real quick. Let me get things started here with a quote. I may or may not be playing just some phenomenal reggae in the background that I can hear and that you can't hear. Maybe, just maybe some old school Don Carlos. All right, let me give everyone the quote here real quick. My pain may be the reason for somebody's laugh, but my laugh must never be the reason for somebody's pain. Phenomenal quote right there. My pain may be the reason for somebody's laugh, but my laugh must never be the reason for somebody's pain. All right, phenomenal quote there. You guys got something you guys want to share with me, feel free to let me know. Let me give everyone a quick rundown what we got going on for the show today. Tyrese Haliburton, my God. Indiana Pacers are 1 game away from making it to the NBA Finals. The Indiana Pacers are 1 game away from making it to the NBA Finals. You're going to tell me right now that the entire league is not sitting back right now and saying to themselves, holy Jesus, if there was a year to get to the NBA Finals, this would have been the year to get to the NBA Finals. I don't care if you're in the East or if you're in the West. Now, granted, the West, you got, obviously the Oklahoma City Thunder and what they're doing, but Pacers take a 3-1 series lead against the New York Knicks. We'll talk about that game yesterday. They rebound after that 20-point disappointment where they gave up that 20-point lead. Tyrese Haliburton literally had one of the best playoff performances that you can have. We'll talk a little bit about Tyrese Haliburton. Why so much hate on Tyrese Haliburton as well? I'm not 100% sure what it is, but we'll spend a little time on Tyrese Haliburton. Thunder and the Wolves, they obviously got their game tonight, so a chance for the Oklahoma City Thunder to get to the NBA Finals. Face of the NBA, Charles Barkley had a stance on that ESPN is forcing Anthony Edwards to be the face of the NBA. If you guys remember this, last week I was talking about this, that, hey, why are we not talking more about Shai Gilgeous-Alexander when we're talking about face of the NBA? We'll spend a little bit of time on that. Shai, by the way, addressed something too. He spent a little bit of time addressing the free throws and him drawing fouls. He said something, honestly, that I'm not crazy about. So we'll get into that in just a second. There was some really, really good things from Shams Charania yesterday. He was on the Pat McAfee show that I think will have a lot to do with, some of the different content that I have this morning. So we'll spend a little bit of time on that. But Shams talked basically saying, expect a crazy offseason. And that takes me back to Rob Pelinka during the exit interviews. Exit interviews were down in El Segundo, and we're, I was there. I came back after and I did a show kind of talking a little bit about it. But one of the things Rob Pelinka said was kind of similar to something that Shams said yesterday in regards to what the offseason could potentially be. LeBron expected to opt out of his contract, which I think means a couple different things. I don't think it's going to be interesting, what Laker fans think about it. But if he opts out, that means he's going to be signing a multi-year deal. So get ready to see LeBron probably for another couple of years if that's going to be the case. I thought this one was interesting. KCP talked about the 2020 championship and went into detail about basically how everybody screwed up by not bringing that team back together. That's come up a couple of times, so we'll spend a little bit of time on that. I got a couple we'll do Ask Lee, and then I got a couple random topics that we're going to get to as well. So got a lot going on in today's show. It's going to be a fun show, a lot of different topics. Got a couple other things as well. KD maybe to the San Antonio Spurs. There's just a lot of different things going on. So thank you very much for being here. Please subscribe to the channel if you've yet to subscribe to the channel, and we'll get the show started here. Let me look at a couple comments before we get started. The ones who love you will never leave you, even if there are 100 reasons to give up. They will find one reason to hold on. All right, there you go. I'll apply a little bit of that there. Fake news. Sharania said Bron opting in. No, he said he would be actually opting out. I think that was I got it anyways. I got that story. So we'll get into that in a little bit here. Let's see what else we got here. We need to keep losing without whining until Bron retires at 47. Haliburton is just a little better than Austin Reaves. Probably a little bit more than just a little better. All right. Appreciate all the comments here. You guys can keep comments going as the show gets started, and we can take it from there. All right. Let's see. I also saw LeBron is opting in. Okay. I'll look at that story as we get a little bit further out. But the story that I saw into is, actually, you know what? No, you're right. I wrote that wrong. My apologies on that one. You're right. Is likely to opt into his $52.6 million contract. My apologies there. You're right on that. I'll have to change that. So I'll change that there. I think probably the story that you guys are talking about is more accurate than mine, because I think the Shams one, you're 100% right. The Shams one is opting in, not opting out. So I'm going to make that quick edit here. Okay, let's get the show started here, and we'll kind of get things moving. So the Indiana Pacers yesterday find a way to beat the New York Knicks, and we'll kind of listen. I will say this. I think for me, there's a couple different angles to take on this topic specifically. And this obviously not really too much to do with the Los Angeles Lakers. This is just good NBA playoff games. And whether you're a fan of this series or not, completely up to you. For me, I've kind of said this, that I'm a fan of the NBA. I'm going to continue watching the NBA, whether the playoffs are the NBA Finals, if it's the Indiana Pacers versus the then the Oklahoma City Thunder. Can't even say that. If it's the Thunder that they're playing, and some people might say, I got no interest in that. Other people might say, two small markets, whatever the case is. Honestly, for me, more than anything else, what I'm looking at, all I really care about is it good basketball or is it not? For me, watching the Knicks and the Pacers has been good basketball. It might not be perfect basketball. Some people might be looking at that series and just kind of saying that, well, it's not two premier franchises going at it. I don't really care. I mean, to me, I can very, very honestly say that it doesn't really matter to me in regards to that. I think the thing that I fully care more about when I spend some time talking about the NBA is it good basketball or is it not? Yesterday, we're watching the Knicks and the Pacers. Just a huge rebound for the Indiana Pacers. They had blown a 20-point lead. What was that now? That was a couple of days ago. They blown a 20-point lead. They had a chance to pretty much close out the series against the New York Knicks. Knicks come all the way back. That's 3 games so far these playoffs that the Knicks come back from 20 down. And it was just wildly impressive for New York. And now all of a sudden, if you're watching that game yesterday, it felt like the Pacers almost had to win that game. And they made it happen. And the Knicks kind of hung around the entire game. Give the Knicks credit. They're kind of one of those teams that just never give up. Jalen Brunson, of course, was going to do his thing. Karl Anthony Towns, I thought, had a really good game as well. They had OG Anunoby played well, Mikal Bridges. I mean, they had a lot of guys step up. The problem with the Knicks is they got no answer for the Pacers on the defensive side. Indiana holds on. Indiana ends up getting the win. And you kind of, however you want to look at this game, it is impossible not to watch the Pacers yesterday and see dudes like Pascal Siakam, see some of the balance that they got, Aaron Naismith, Andrew Nembhard, some of these other guys that are on this team, Benedict Mathurin, who came in 20 points off the bench for him. They got all these dudes that are all contributing. They play 9-10 guys deep. Everybody kind of has their own role. They're wildly unselfish, and the Pacers are one game away getting to the NBA Finals, which kind of shows you what it takes to make the NBA Finals or to get to the NBA Finals. It really just kind of shows how balanced of a team that you have. And if you want to make some comparisons to the Lakers, all right, well, that's certainly not the Lakers' DNA. The Lakers' DNA is not balanced. The Lakers' DNA is not depending on so many other players and everything else. It 100% feels like one of those situations for the Pacers. Every time I kind of try to tie it back to the Lakers, you say to yourself, like, okay, well, how far are the Lakers from getting to the NBA Finals? It's going to take, even if you look at Dallas last year, who got to the NBA Finals. Yes, Kyrie was great. Yes, Luka's the man, but they got 6-7 guys that they can depend on. Obviously, that was not the case for the Lakers. But the biggest story coming out of yesterday's game was not just the Pacers beating the Knicks. It was the Pacers behind Tyrese Haliburton, who, if you guys remember earlier in the season, he was voted as the most overrated player in the NBA, which I thought at the time, I'm like, damn, Tyrese, most overrated player. I didn't even know he got that much pub. Yes, Tyrese Haliburton's a nice player, but it seems like there are a lot of other players that get a lot more publicity than Tyrese Haliburton. The most overrated player in the NBA, voted by NBA players. Now, it's not like they voted, every player had a vote, but there was enough votes out there, and it made news, and it definitely made news. And last night, I'm watching this dude who, again, the most overrated player in the NBA, 32 points, 15 assists, 12 rebounds, had 4 steals, and had 0 turnovers. Literally a historic performance in the NBA playoffs. And I'm gonna read you how historic it was. Haliburton became the first player in playoff history to put up at least 30 points, 15 assists, and 10 rebounds without a turnover since turnovers were first tracked in 1977, 1978, according to ESPN research. And then it also said, I think it's happened twice, but it was in the regular season. So he's the first player in playoff history to have those stats, to obviously make that happen. Just an incredible performance by one player. Now, you could look at Tyrese Haliburton however you want. I know for me, I never kind of considered Tyrese as an overrated player because, frankly, I don't know. I just never put him on this list where I'm like, hey, that Tyrese is one of the top 5 players in the league. His name doesn't come up. And by the way, nor should it. This man had one of the more historic performances against the New York Knicks in a critical Game 4 at home to go up 3-1. Has, obviously the stat line that we all just talked about, and is now 1 game away from the NBA Finals. I mean, talk about shutting up your critics. Again, I'm not here. This isn't a Pacers podcast. This isn't me trying to talk about Tyrese Haliburton and trying to spend my whole show about how great Tyrese Haliburton is. But I also like to give credit where credit is due. This man put up one of the more iconic playoff performances in a while. I mean, to be a point guard, to have a triple-double and 0 turnovers, that's just phenomenal. I mean, there's just no more that you can talk about it. And I think what made this even, an even more impressive performance is the fact that during the season, a lot of people were talking about Tyrese Haliburton, not for his play, but for being the most overrated player in the NBA. I go back to this. There's a lot of times people want to run their mouth, and this happens in sports all the time, or it happens in sports media or whatever the case is. A lot of people like running their mouth, and a lot of people like running their mouth where, it's kind of, well, what's your angle, or why is this person running his mouth, or why is this player running his mouth? If you were voted the most overrated player in the NBA and you followed that up in a critical game 4 with having a stat line of 32, 15, and 12 with 4 steals and 0 turnovers. I mean, is there anything to say? You literally don't have to say anything because everybody else will do the talking for you. I just thought, watching that game yesterday, I thought it was a kind of a really cool moment for the Pacers and a really cool moment for Tyrese Haliburton. And talk about, a way of just shutting everybody up. You want to drop a mic, it's like just show them the stat line and move on. And I like, some of the things Haliburton said after the game was on TNT. So TNT was had the post-game interview after, and he just kind of basically said, like, look, still haven't really done anything. Still got to go close out the series. Obviously Madison Square Garden, that place, they're going to have one goal. Their goal is going to be to send it back to Indiana. New York has clearly proven they can win on the road in the playoffs. They've been winning on the road. I think that's only their second loss in the playoffs on the road. But just pretty damn impressive performance. And if you're an NBA fan, and I like the storylines, and for me, the storyline coming into this series is, here you got, I picked the Knicks in 6. I guess I'm just going to keep picking wrong in all these series. I thought Boston and OKC would be playing each other in the NBA Finals. I'm obviously wrong on that one. But if you thought the Knicks were going to win this series and you thought the Pacers, there are a lot of people actually on this chat that were telling me don't sleep on the Pacers. I was sleeping on them. 100%, 100% I was sleeping on them. No question about it, I was. That's a pretty iconic performance last night. So hats off to the Indiana Pacers and Tyrese Haliburton, the most overrated player in the NBA, shuts up everybody, including a lot of these NBA players that were voting him as the most overrated player. What a cool storyline. What a historic performance, and what a way to just shut everybody up and doing it with your play. That was pretty freaking cool. And he did it against the Knicks, obviously, a huge fan base and everything else. But anyways, they made it happen. And Tyrese Haliburton was phenomenal last night. And I just thought that was pretty freaking cool to watch that performance happen. And the series is not done, but they're one game away from obviously getting to the NBA Finals. Okay, let me look at a couple of the comments here. And then, we got a lot to get into as well. There's a lot of other topics I want to get into as well, but I thought it was impossible not to spend a little bit of time on that. Okay, let me look here at a few of the comments here. Slee, OKC versus Pacers going to be great up and down basketball, must-see TV in my opinion. 2 well-coached teams and no more forced and false narratives, no old stars. I was with a cousin of mine over the weekend, and he said that one of the things he liked about where the playoffs were, these Final Four teams that were in it, he said that it was some new blood. It wasn't just the same Steph Curry, LeBron James, Kevin Durant. It was you got to see some new players that are in this thing. Now, that might not attract a lot of people. I get it. Listen, if it's Indiana, OKC in the NBA Finals, which at this point, both of these teams are up 3-1, that's what you're going to be expecting. I get that there's going to be a lot of people saying to themselves, oh, well, that doesn't feel exciting to them. You got to be an NBA fan. I don't know what to tell you. I think you're going to have to be, clearly you're going to have to be an NBA fan if you're going to be watching a series like that. I'm not the guy to ask about that because for me, I'm in on I'm in on something like this. To me, I'm going to watch these either way, but I do understand people that are saying, well, it's not a marquee player and it's not a big franchise. Well, what I would tell you is if you're a fan of the NBA and you're a fan of basketball, I would watch it. The Indiana Pacers have a fun style of basketball that they play. The Oklahoma City Thunder look flawless. I mean, that's they're making Anthony Edwards and Julius Randle look like chumps, and they're not chumps. So you're just going to have to like the style of play, and you're going to also have to just accept that not every NBA Finals should be marquee players. That's going to be a challenge for the NBA. They want parity. They're getting their parity right here. All right, Nick T. Ball movement offense. That's what Rick Carlisle preached and why he left Luka. Tyrese, the most pure point guard in the league. He's the opposite of Luka. All right, interesting take there. Yeah, I think there are a lot of times. I mean, it doesn't happen all the time. I've watched Tyrese play, and I thought yesterday he went through a stretch where he was forcing some bad shots, taking some bad threes. That's kind of part of his game. But he's also somebody that does move the ball around. And they got a balance. I mean, that's the one thing that I'll give the Indiana Pacers. They definitely got a balance. They got dudes that they rely on outside of just Tyrese Haliburton. And I'm seeing this, Nick T, Tyrese Haliburton is better than Luka. He's iconic because he might be the most underrated player in the league. Okay, there's another one there. A lot of people here talking about how Austin Reaves is wildly overrated. Let's see what else we got here. Only stupid people think Tyrese Haliburton is overrated, or people that hate. I think a lot of times. By the way, I appreciate the couple of supers that we had there. Thank you very much. Let me give a shout out here. Thank you for the super, and Nick, thank you for the super. I think what happens a lot of times in sports is people just hate on certain players. People just, if you don't like the personality of somebody, or maybe other players don't think the other guy, I don't know, whatever the case is, but there's a lot of times people just naturally hate on guys. Two small market teams, I actually like to see two teams in it for once. I'm okay with how this goes. Good chance OKC sweeps the Pacers. I would pick Oklahoma City Thunder over the Pacers, but I've picked against the Pacers in the series against the Cavs. I picked them against the series against the Knicks. I picked against them. I would pick against them in the finals. So I've been wrong on the Pacers almost every game so far. I could see this series going to all 7 games. OKC and Pacers, both young, will turn back into a track race. OKC wants to slow it down a bit. I think at the end of the day, if that's what the NBA Finals is, that's what the NBA Finals is. Okay, so Tyrese. Historic night last night. It was fun to watch. Tonight, the Thunder are taking on the Minnesota Timberwolves. Let me just make sure. I'm pretty sure they're going back-to-back. Yeah, that will be tonight. 5:30 tip-off, Minnesota and OKC. So something to just keep in mind. There still is a game tonight. OKC's got a chance to close out the series. And OKC's got a chance to close out the series at home. Honestly, I don't think I'm really expecting all that much from Minnesota tonight. I would be maybe shocked as too power. No, I'd be very surprised if Minnesota's taking this thing back to if the Timberwolves are taking this thing back to Minnesota. I fully expect they have a 3-1 series lead. Fully expect for them to kind of close out this series and call it a day, and you can go from there. I feel, at least for me, I feel like OKC closes this thing out. None of this series, I was mentioning this yesterday, none of this has really been a surprise to me. None of it has, so we'll kind of see what happens from here. Okay, so we got that game coming up tonight, and we'll obviously keep an eye out for it. I thought there was some good stuff that came out of some good kind of quotes that I saw yesterday, some good articles that came out yesterday. I'm going to play something for everybody here real quick. We've had this conversation before, and then I kind of want to jump into what we should be expecting this summer, because I think Shams had some interesting stuff. But tonight you got Minnesota and the Oklahoma City Thunder. And there has been a little bit of a conversation. We've kind of heard this conversation before. There has been a little bit of a conversation about who is the face of the NBA. And I'm not, to be honest with you, I don't really care that much. I don't think it's that big of a deal or anything like that. But I thought Charles Barkley said something interesting yesterday. Charles Barkley yesterday was talking about, the face of the NBA, who the face of the NBA should be. And a lot of times, there are times where you're specifically looking at, how do I properly put this? You could be looking at the networks are trying to force something on you. Happens all the time. And Charles Barkley, I thought said something yesterday, and I don't have to play the exact quote or anything like that, but basically what Charles Barkley was trying to say, more than anything else, Charles Barkley was trying to make an argument. You know what? I'll just play it. I have it right here, so I might as well just play it. Let me play this for everybody here real quick. Let me play this for everybody here real quick. I'm just going to share it with everybody. Take a listen to what he's talking about in regards to kind of forcing the face of the NBA.
OKC is the best team in the NBA. I've been telling y'all that for 2 months. Hey, ESPN, I love you guys. Don't try to make Anthony Edwards the face of the NBA. The face of the NBA is Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Joker, and Giannis. You can't give it to people. They have to take it. And Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is taking it.
Okay. Only reason why I wanted to play that, I think it's more has to do with, I think it has more to do with, as you kind of pay attention to the different players in the NBA or the guys that you think are, obviously the key players or players that you think that are the face of the NBA. I just kind of, I stopped there real quick because last week I was spending a little bit of time on this and I was saying to myself in regards to the face of the NBA, are we sure we don't want to make Shai Gilgeous-Alexander the face of the NBA? Are we sure there aren't other guys? You're force-feeding Anthony Edwards. Anthony Edwards is about to be out in – and by the way, I think it's an accomplishment to get to the Western Conference Finals 2 years in a row. Don't get me wrong. Now, granted, I don't think their team was ever really a threat. Maybe last year they were more of a threat than this year. I thought they were more complete last year. But Barkley basically saying, can we stop trying to force – and he calls out ESPN specifically. I get it. I think ESPN does want this high flyer, somebody that's got, personality, somebody that doesn't mind talking and running his mouth. And Shai is more of the boring type. Face of the NBA, let it naturally be and don't force it. I don't think he's, I don't think he's wrong on that one at all. Okay. Man, we got so many different things to hit on here. Tyrese Haliburton has averaged 16, 8, and 4 in 9 games versus Luka Doncic in his career. Yeah, I think some people are trying to say that Tyrese is better than Luka. Tyrese has been phenomenal. Most teams, most GMs, most everybody will take Luka over Tyrese. So I know some people want to make that narrative. Tyrese having incredible playoffs right now. Go back to last year's playoffs and see what Luka was doing. If anybody was watching Luka in the playoffs, we kind of get caught in the moment. So I'm here to get caught in the moment with Tyrese. You're taking Luka over Tyrese Haliburton. You just are. And now you got to build the team around Luka and obviously figure out what the Lakers do from here. But we got kind of a ways to go before we get there. But I get being caught in the moment in regards to that. Okay. I think everybody is really, really looking forward to the offseason. I think everybody is really, really looking forward to the offseason this year. And I want to take everybody back here real quick. I had a moment when Lakers were eliminated from the playoffs. And everybody kind of knows how critical of an offseason this is for the Lakers. They're trying to figure out a lot of things. You want to make sure Luka's happy. What are you going to do with LeBron? How many more years does LeBron want to play in the league? Can you really rebuild around Luka if LeBron is still there? What will Lakers do in regards to Austin Reaves? There are just a lot of different things that, we can talk about in regards to the offseason. And I think it's going to be an exciting offseason. But one of the things that I took away, I'm there at the presser, the exit interview. Pelinka's there with JJ Redick. And Pelinka said something that stood out to me, and I mentioned it right after the presser. I came back and I did a show. Pelinka said something to the effect of that he expects that it's going to be a very, very active summer in the NBA. Everybody knows what the Lakers need. They need a big. What are they going to do with Austin Reaves? You know, you bring back Dorian Finney-Smith. Do you keep Rui and Gabe Vincent and some of these other guys? You use them as trade bait. We know all the questions the Lakers have. But I thought it was really interesting that Rob Pelinka said that he is expecting that this summer is going to be very active in the NBA. That stuck out to me. It's like, all right, well, Pelinka obviously knows something. The last thing you want Pelinka to do, I think, is overpromise and underdeliver. I worry about that a little bit because I think he has done that before. And then, you know, obviously this past trade deadline, we didn't know what the hell was going to happen, and he got Luka Doncic. So that stood out to me. Yesterday, I'm listening to this Pat McAfee, Shams Charania conversation. And I want you guys to take a listen here because instantly when I heard this, the first thing that came to my mind was the fact that, you know, like I mentioned, the first thing that came to my mind when I heard Shams say what he said was, man, you know what? Rob Pelinka said something similar in regards to how active and busy this summer is going to be. Take a listen to what Shams said on Pat McAfee show yesterday.
This is going to be an active summer for the NBA.
Pat, this is the most, I think, anticipation team executives have had over an offseason. I think this is going to be the craziest offseason of I don't want to say all time. We just came off a trade deadline. I think it was the craziest of all time. I think this offseason might be the most craziest ever because I think there's so many.
Most craziest ever.
Mike.
That's crazy. MCE. Most craziest ever, dude.
Most craziest ever. Probably grammar police is like it's craziest ever.
No, you got your point across. It's the most craziest ever.
Because I think what you have right now is you have the parity
English
in the league.
Sucks.
It's so thin right now. Like as far as the thin line of what you can win a championship or you might be falling into the lottery. And I think the ability to go out there and improve your team and get there to championship level, I think that's on the minds of everyone around the league. So how can you elevate your team?
Phenomenal stuff right there. And, you know, a few things stick out to me. And this really has a lot to do with, by the way, I mean, McAfee just demolishing it. That dude is just killing it. Couple things stick out to me. I think what Shams said there, you guys have heard me say this before. When the Denver Nuggets lost in 7 games, I'm like, all right, well, add another team that's going to be super, super active come offseason because they want to make sure Jokic is happy. The Golden State Warriors, Steph Curry gets injured. You don't think they understand how small their window is right now to try to compete? Let's keep, adding teams. If Minnesota gets eliminated tonight or whenever, you don't think they're going to try to make sure that their window, they got to 2 Western Conference Finals championships in a row. Houston was out in the first round. It took them 7 games to go. You don't think they're going to be active this summer? The Dallas Mavericks traded Luka Doncic because they wanted a window right now. They wanted to go all in. The San Antonio Spurs are another team that's out there that's saying to themselves, how do we start building a championship contender? The Oklahoma City Thunder are phenomenal. The Clippers, what are they going to do? I love what Shams said right there because it makes a lot of sense. You got a lot of teams right now that are watching the playoffs and saying, wait a minute, we could beat the Pacers. Wait a minute, we could beat the Minnesota Timberwolves. Wait a minute, we could beat the Knicks. You got a lot of teams, and maybe they're not saying that about the Oklahoma City Thunder, even though, maybe some teams are saying, hey, we're not that far from the Thunder. I mean, hell, look at the Lakers as an example. Lakers were walking into the playoffs saying to themselves, hey, if we got the Oklahoma City Thunder in the Western Conference Finals, well, look what we did against them in the regular season. We can go toe-to-toe against them. Obviously, Lakers never had that chance. They got their asses kicked against Minnesota, and that was a wrap. So I'm not trying to make a case that the Lakers would beat Oklahoma City. I'm just saying that they played them in 2 regular season games where they played them very competitively late in the season. And you thought like, hey, maybe they can make a series out of this. The point that I'm trying to make, more than anything else is that what Shams said about you have all this parity in the league. And you got all these teams that feel like they're not that far away, which means you're going to have a lot of teams that are very aggressive this offseason. So if you like NBA free agency and you like the way, and I'm not even talking about guys getting signed, I'm talking about movement. I'm talking about trades. Lakers can't go out there this summer and go make 3 or 4 trades. No, or I'm sorry, they can't go sign 3 or 4 players in free agency. They don't have all this cap space, nor do many other teams. So I think what Shams is talking about, what Pelinka was talking about, was expect a lot of action this summer because that's the only way teams are going to be able to maneuver. And you also got a lot of front office saying to themselves, we're not that far away. We got a shot to be a top 2, top 3 team in the West. We got a shot to be a top 2, top 3 team in the Eastern Conference. Who knows when Tatum's going to come back? Can you have faith in Cleveland in the Eastern Conference? There's going to be teams out there that think that they got a real opportunity. So I thought that was kind of a real kind of fascinating quote from Shams. And I think this summer is going to be, I think it's going to match that. And I think it's going to be a very interesting summer. All right, let me look at some of the comments here, and we could go from there. Let's see what we got here. KD to LA or the Spurs? I don't think the Lakers, I'll tell you that. So maybe you're talking about the Clippers. Pelinka is all talk. Get Sam Presti. I was trying to get somebody on from the Thunder. I'm having a little bit of trouble doing that. We thought we had a time for today, but it didn't happen. Yeah, I'd love to hear the Sam Presti angle and why Sam Presti has just absolutely loved staying in OKC and building his own thing. But isn't that a little surprising that arguably the best player or the best front office person, the best front office executive has decided to stay in Oklahoma City and is really kind of never even up for debate to go anywhere else? Pacers traded for Tyrese because of the system that Rick was planning to install in the new team. Tyrese shined with a specific type of team. Luka can make any team shine. Shea is the Tim Duncan of the guards, and that's okay. I like that. That's a good quote. By the way, he said something. Shea was asked, I think it was yesterday. What's today? Today is Wednesday. So it was Monday night. I think it was after they won game 4. They're up 3-1. Shea was asked something about his, the free throws, and he says, I don't care. I never cared. I kind of see it as a compliment. That's my only beef with Shea. I wish this man, he's such a good player and he's so damn talented. I wish of all the different great things that comes from Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, I wish this man stayed away from, baiting some of these fouls, because I think it takes away from some of his greatness. I think it adds a little bit of a negative conversation around Shai, and I don't think there should be many negative conversations around Shai. I don't. But we'll see what eventually happens. How is the best front office person has no championship? And we're talking about Sam Presti. Jason, you're not wrong, but tell me, by the way, we could be sitting here in two weeks and he has a championship, or in 3 weeks and he has a championship. I don't think you can just gauge somebody by just winning a championship or not. But I get your point. And frankly, you're probably right. I shouldn't say he's the best front office person until they win an NBA championship. But tell me how many front offices can go to the Oklahoma City Thunder, draft guys like Kevin Durant, James Harden, Serge Ibaka, Russell Westbrook, Steven Adams. Kevin Durant leaves overnight, have to start completely all over again, then trades for Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, understands the rebuilding process. Go look at how many players. I mean, Jalen Williams is a freaking stud. He's only 23 or 24 years old. They drafted Chet as well. Obviously, we know what happened there. They got all these other guys that, we're not talking about that are also really nice role players. And here they are in a position to go potentially win an NBA championship. That's pretty damn impressive that he's doing that with the Thunder. I think with franchises like the Lakers, you could skip steps. You can't skip steps with the Oklahoma City Thunder. You better be right with everything that you do. That's what I mean by him having this. Sam Presti is one of the best in the league, period. There's not really much that you can say there. I know you can make the case and say, okay, I don't disagree with you. Don't say best front office person until he wins an NBA championship. You're not wrong there. But look what he's built in Oklahoma. Guys, this is in Oklahoma City. That's I think that's what makes it special. If there's certain front office executives in certain sports that you can say are elite and they haven't won a championship yet. He's elite. Maybe can't say the best yet until he wins an NBA championship, but we're literally a couple weeks away from here, and he may very well win an NBA championship. All right, let me see what we got here. Let me see what else we got here. Let me read a couple more of these here. But I'm going to go back to what I was saying about the I'm going to go back to what I was saying about how interesting of an offseason it could potentially be. I'm looking forward to it. So I think if you're a fan out there of the NBA, even a Laker fan, expect a lot of action. So that's all that I could really tell you. Lakers are done. They have no chance of winning another title in the near future. It's going to be tough. I'll tell you that. I mean, the trajectory that they're on right now, they're going to definitely have to build around Luka, and that's going to take a second to do. Okay, that's actually going to take me to my next topic here. There's two articles here that I want to get into. There was a story that came out yesterday. My apologies. I put this on. I don't know, read it wrong, however you want to put it. There was Shams yesterday said that LeBron James is likely to opt in to his $52.6 million player option per Shams. Obviously one of the most important things that happens this offseason for the Lakers is, well, what is LeBron going to do? I got to be honest with you. I think the best case scenario for the Lakers is LeBron opting in. Because I think what that tells you is probably means this could be his final year with the Lakers. And it also means that, by opting in, it gives the Lakers in 2026 real opportunities to kind of figure out what they're going to do. Will they have a shot at going out and getting some of these big-time players? Do they have an opportunity to really start the rebuilding process with Luka and building around Luka? Not rebuilding, but building around Luka. I think there's a lot that will come into play. But according to Shams, LeBron is likely to opt in to his $52.6 million player option. If that's the case, I think that's probably the best thing that can happen. You might love Bron, you might hate Bron. Bron is still balling out, period. And it really doesn't benefit you this upcoming season if LeBron decides to leave and go somewhere else or retire. You still want LeBron James. It's not like you could take the $52.6 million and say, okay, hey, Bron's gone. Let me go put in $52.6 million from another player. If that was the case, then I would say, okay, that makes sense. But that's not the case. The Lakers' best chance next year is to try to find a big man, is to try to build, and then also to kind of know that LeBron is only there potentially for another year, and then they could figure it out after that. But I thought that was interesting news because for me, I just assumed I was having a conversation with Eric Pincus. Eric Pincus was on here, Bleacher Report. He does a phenomenal job. By the way, don't pay attention to my notes right here because I put LeBron expected to opt out. I meant to say LeBron expected to opt in. So I changed it on the title and everything else. But expected to opt in, that's kind of, I'll be honest with you, I wasn't expecting that. I thought LeBron was just going to do a 1+1 deal, hold the franchise hostage like he always does. Not hostage, but you guys know what I mean. Kind of, it's tough to kind of plan around LeBron until you know exactly what he's going to do. But I think this will actually give the Lakers a little bit of clarity. So that's going to be a little bit of the hope there is that there is a little bit of clarity from that perspective. And then they can move on from there. ESPN also did. They have their free agent rankings. And I don't think the Lakers are really going to be able to make a ton of noise in free agency. I think it's most likely going to come probably through trades. Now, they can do sign-in trades and things along those lines, but that gets a little bit more complicated. The Tier 1 All-Stars with options unlikely to move, LeBron's number 1 on that list. So something to keep in mind. They have a Tier 2, proven starters in their prime. Miles Turner is there. I think, we talked a little bit about this yesterday. I just don't see him going anywhere. I think the further that the Indiana Pacers have gone, the fact that they're about to get to the NBA Finals keeps it more and more likely that he's going to stay with his current team. Some other players that I think, are interesting. Jonathan Kuminga is going to be out there. Dorian Finney-Smith, Brooke Lopez, those are players that are obviously associated with the Lakers, or in Dorian Finney-Smith's case, a Los Angeles Laker. So something to keep in mind there. And then, some of the other players that we talked about, Naz Reid, Gary Trent Jr., I think is an interesting player. Nickeil Alexander-Walker, who had a phenomenal Game 4 for the Minnesota Timberwolves. He's another player that's going to be available. Guys will be available, but I don't know how many options Lakers are going to have in free agency. I think most of the stuff is going to have to come in trade. So expect a very busy offseason. How the Lakers, they're going to have to be very, very creative. So that's probably the easiest way to put it. Okay, I'm going to read some of your guys' comments here in just a second. Before I do so, I do want to talk about our partner here. Shout out to Brad Wallace and the Wallace firm. I've been telling you guys a little bit about, this partnership, and I'll tell you guys a little bit more about it. So here's somebody that I've known for about 5 years, and he's had his firm for about 10 years. Injury attorney, focused in the state of California, can help anybody in the state of California. I remember talking to him when I just left 710 ESPN. He was with me at 710 as well. So here's somebody that's as loyal as can be, believes in what I'm doing, what I'm building, and believes in my content and the channel. And he's like, Al, I want to be a part of it. So he comes over here to YouTube, and I love how organic our conversations are about the Wallace firm. We created a URL, wallacewins.com/Sliwa. You can click on my description as well. So it's in the description. Get a free consultation. If a family member, a serious injury, a wrongful death case, and it's you or a family member, and you're kind of trying to figure out what to do. Insurance companies are always going to be trying to settle. At least give Brad Wallace and the Wallace firm a chance to have a conversation with you. You get a free consultation, like I mentioned. I can make a personal introduction if you'd like me to. But I do think it's kind of cool that I have somebody in an industry that's such a critical industry, in an industry that is always trying to get your attention. I have an owner that I'm personal friends with that if any of our listeners obviously are looking for some help or some advice or a consultation, I can make that personal introduction for you. wallacewins.com/Sliwa, wallacewins.com/Sliwa, or click on the link in my description, as I mentioned, and he'll be happy to help, and I'm happy to make an introduction as well. So shout out to Brad Wallace and the Wallace firm, and shout out to their partnership here. Okay, let's take a look at some of the comments here, and we'll go from there. Get Brad Wallace to structure the Giannis trade. Okay. I'll have to send him a text. I have to figure out how to do that. Let's see what we got here. Lakers going to make 0 moves. No, listen, man, I got to be honest with you. I think they're under a lot of pressure. I think they'll definitely make moves. I think there are players out there that probably want to play with Luka Doncic and would be open to a trade. So I think something's going to happen. I think something's going to happen. I think there's definitely going to be some type of action around the Lakers. And I think it's just, I think it's impossible for nothing to happen. I just hope that we don't get our hopes up and then it's very, very minimal stuff that happened that doesn't really have an influence or a change on this upcoming season. A lot of teams are going to, listen, I'll tell you this, you can have a good offseason and still end up a 6th seed in the West because other teams are also aggressive and other teams are also trying to find ways to improve their roster. And the West is really, really competitive. I saw this that I think was interesting. Part of what Shams was doing yesterday, who was just killing it yesterday. Part of what he was doing yesterday was talking about, other teams. I'm gonna read a quote here that he had, and this just kind of shows you guys of where everybody is, and take a team like the San Antonio Spurs and what they could potentially do. He said, whether it's a player like Giannis Antetokounmpo, Kevin Durant is another guy. There was mutual interest at the deadline. I think the Spurs are going to be looking to see, is there a wing player that we can bring in? And basically what Shams was saying is, don't sleep on KD to the San Antonio Spurs. If they do make a run at Kevin Durant, which, by the way, I mean, to be completely honest with you, KD on the San Antonio Spurs in a system, and KD just gets to be Kevin Durant and doesn't have to worry about everything else, that's what makes Kevin Durant as dangerous as possible. But what Shams was mentioning there, and the reason why he mentioned Kevin Durant, was because, hey, if the price for Giannis Antetokounmpo is too much for the San Antonio Spurs, they could just shift their attention and say, cool, we won't get Giannis, but we'll get Kevin Durant for the next 2 years to play with, Victor Wembanyama, De'Aaron Fox, and some of their other young players that they have. And they'll just put together a package that's a lot less that they have to give up for Giannis, and kind of go from there and pivot from there. Let's just say that the San Antonio Spurs got a lot of options. They got a lot of options. They got a lot of draft picks. They got the number 2 pick in this upcoming draft as well. That's going to be very interesting what San Antonio decides to do. But they got options. And I think the point that I'm trying to make there is, have a lot of other teams competing. I saw this, by the way, as I was sitting here doing the show. I'm going to read this off to everybody because I might as well just do this now. And if we want to get into a further discussion here, we can do it. And this isn't too far from what Eric Pincus and I were talking about last time that he was on the show. A lot of people want to talk about Austin Reaves, and that's kind of a conversation that's come up. I'll share this with you guys here. This came up within the last half hour. So this is obviously while I'm doing my show. This is a conversation that came up. We could read it together. NBA Central put this out. Austin Reaves is expected to test the free agent market next summer and could be seeking a salary of $30 million per Eric Pincus. Reaves is nearly sure to decline his $14 million player option for the 2026-2027 season to explore unrestricted free agency this next summer, seeking a salary of $30 million starting range. The most he can extend for is $19.5 million, which is far short of that number. Not a surprise. I mean, I've said this a couple different times. That he's going to get market value. I mean, however you want to look at Austin Reaves, it's going to be his job to get market value. And his agent, who I still don't understand what the angle was yesterday when he was talking about, watch out what he's going to do this year, and they're showing highlights against the Pacers. I still don't really fully understand that. But the one thing I will say, at least for me, the question is going to be, what's in the best interest of the Lakers? Is in the best interest of the Lakers building around Luka, giving Austin Reaves $30 million? Or is the best interest of the Lakers listening to offers this summer, probably bringing him back this year, and then by the time you get to the trade deadline, then deciding and making a decision, can we get a contract with Austin Reaves that makes sense? And if we can't, then maybe that's when they make their move. But that's what he's going to get somewhere. That's going to be the market value for Austin Reaves. It's just that's what it's going to cost. He's on a very favorable contract. Eventually, your contract's going to become market value, and that's probably what's going to happen with Austin Reaves. So that's something that I saw here while we were doing the show, and I wanted to at least I wanted to at least kind of sneak that in there. All right, let's take a look at a couple of comments here. Let's see what we got here. If he's going to become a free agent, you got to trade him before he leaves for nothing. It's true. Oh, you're right about that. This damn Western Conference, Slee. Stacked. The West is stacked. We all know that. I don't think it's a shock or a surprise, but the Western Conference is obviously remarkably stacked. Okay, we got about 5 minutes here left on the show. I got a couple other things I could hit on, but before I do so, every Wednesday we do Ask Slee. So if you guys got something you want to throw my way that has nothing to do with sports, preferably nothing to do with sports, you could feel free to do so. Again, Ask Slee on Wednesdays. You guys got something you guys want to throw out there, feel free to do so. I always like doing that. So feel free to do so. Let's get a couple of these in here. Market value is contingent on Austin Reaves balling out both regular and postseason. Let's see if he finally can. Well, listen, regular season, he balled out. So you're not wrong there. Postseason, he struggled. You're not wrong there as well. Still think he's going to get his money. I mean, I still think he's going to get his money. I really do. I still think that he's probably going to figure out a way to get his money. Teams like Austin Reaves, I think, is marketable as well. I think the fact that he played for the Lakers, hard worker, hard player, rolls up his sleeves. Maybe it's not the equivalent of Alex Caruso, but it's not apples to apples. They're completely different style of players. But if you ball out for the Lakers, I mean, there's a lot of teams watching the Lakers. There's a lot of players watching the Lakers. There's a lot of – you're on nationally televised games all the time. Maybe that hurts your stock in a little bit if you don't perform in the playoffs. All right, let me see a couple of these here. Ashley, best interest for the Lakers is to trade Austin. Well, I think I said this before. I think it's going to be really difficult to have $75 million that's going towards Luka and Austin Reaves in your backcourt. You better have a perfect lineup everywhere else if you got that much money going to those players. All right, let me see what we got here. A couple Ashleys. What's one material item do you value more than anything else? That's a good one. I got this cross that was my pops. My pops used to wear it. My pops passed back in 2011, so my dad passed away years ago. But and I don't even wear it because I don't want to lose it. But I have it, and that's kind of like, hey, that's what my dad used to wear all the time. Excuse me, guys. That's what my dad used to wear all the time, so I wear it. So, or I have it. So I would say that's one thing. Still got this cough here. By the way, that's kind of what everybody has, right? Like somebody has something that obviously that you hold on to. Okay, that's more meaningful. All right, let me see something else here that I got. Let's see what else we got here. A couple more. Let's get a couple Ashleys in here. Come on, ask me some random questions here. There was one that I saw that was good. People, okay. Slee, are you one of those people hold on to elevator door open for someone, or will you casually act like they don't exist and keep pressing the close button? Most of the time, it's got to be some eye contact made. And it also depends how far is that person. When I was in LA Live at 710, there was just enough distance between the elevator and where the person was, where it was like, it's up in the air. It's a toss-up. If that person gives me eye contact, I got to hold the door. But if they're not giving me eye contact, I'm assuming that they also don't want me to hold the door because they're just far enough. So, there's also hold the door and somebody's 15 seconds away And it's like, all right, well, that's odd as well. So I got to be very strategic there. It's a good question. It's always it's always kind of, you're right in the middle there. Just kind of depends on the circumstance. All right, let's see what we got here. Slee, if the NBA shut down, which other sport would you want to cover? The NFL is phenomenal. You know what I mean? Like, the NFL is phenomenal. So I kind of get stuck with the NFL. I think the NFL is phenomenal. So baseball's fun, but baseball is such a grind, and you have so many games. The NFL, every single game freaking matters. Every game counts. So I'd say the NFL. All right, let's see what else we got here. All right, we're doing so every Wednesday we do Ask Slee, so you can throw any question you want my way. We'll just kind of BS with this for a little bit. I don't know what's going on, man. Throat is jacked up here. Slee, all-time favorite comedian. Oh, this is good. You know, I got to go with. I think this one's actually easy for me. You know, when I was in college, the most popular show out there was the Chappelle Show. And I just think Dave Chappelle is an absolute genius. I think he's phenomenal. I think his style is phenomenal. I go Dave Chappelle. Dave Chappelle, my favorite comedian of all time, Dave Chappelle. There's some other great comedians. Sometimes I'll have Sirius XM. You know, you got some of those comedy channels that are there. You can just listen to some random people. But my favorite comedian of all time, Dave Chappelle. Yeah, I would say Dave Chappelle is my favorite comedian. Let's see here. Slee, do you regret leaving your parents' house at the age you did? I left my parents' house 19. Then I went back for like a year, maybe at 21, and then I was gone again in a year. No, I do not regret it. No. There's there's a time. You gotta take off. Here. All right, let's see a couple more here. So you just got to the bar after a long work week. What do you order to drink? All right. If it was like a long work week and I want something strong, then I'm not messing around, and I'll just do bourbon on the rocks. And I do it on the rocks. I could get it neat, but I like it on the rocks. I like that it kind of waters down a little bit. I take my time sipping on it. If I'm getting like a cocktail, like if I'm out on it, if I'm vacation, I do margaritas. I don't know what it is about a vacation, but I just want a margarita. That's all I want. I just want to drink margaritas. If I'm at a nice dinner, I'm going to do a glass of wine. If I'm chilling watching a game, I'm going to have a beer. So that's kind of like, I think it just depends on the environment, the atmosphere. If I want a cocktail and it's not a margarita, I'll do a, what is it called? A Kentucky Mule. So that's the bourbon with the ginger beer and all that other stuff. But it just kind of like depends on the mood. If the vibe is good and I'm on vacation, I want margaritas. Just give me margaritas. That's it. I don't want anything else. I want margaritas. If I'm having a nice dinner, we'll do a glass of wine. If I'm enjoying a sporting event, let me take down some beers. Light beers. I don't really do any of those ales or anything like that. Let's see here. Let me try to get to a couple more here. All right. Leslie, the finals are looking like it's going to be Thunder Pacers. I think you just got to go Oklahoma City. I think you got to go Oklahoma City. Got to go the Thunder. That's just what I'm going to assume. You just got to go the Thunder. So I got to go Thunder on that one. Favorite ballpark to attend. You know, I think a lot of people would probably agree with this. Petco is phenomenal. Really, really great ballpark. Location is perfect. A lot of great restaurants and bars around. They closed off. I think it's Fifth Avenue now that they closed off, so you can literally just go bar to bar, restaurant to restaurant. Petco's a cool experience. That's a fun experience. And that's not me just saying that. I think it's also because I think it's a cool experience. Let's see what we got here. Let's see if we got a couple more here, and then we're done. Yeah, my bad on that, guys. My bad. I was good before the show started. Straight to bourbon. Sheesh. Listen, if it's a rough day, I like Woodford, by the way. Woodford might be my favorite bourbon. And that's a very, very, reasonably priced bourbon. Woodford Reserve's a nice bourbon there. Margarita sleeve. Just margaritas. I don't even know what happens to me. Just immediately. All right, let's see if we got any more. Padres falling off the cliff. They were for a second there. They got kind of back on. We'll see what eventually happens. Last meal, your favorite food? Ooh, I like this question. Damn. Last meal, your favorite food? I think I'm going to surprise myself a little bit on this one. Could I just do a nice ribeye? Let me get some. What do I want on the side of that ribeye? I want some mac and cheese on the side. I'm actually surprising myself that I'm going with this. I'm surprising myself that I'm going with this. I'm gonna do a nice ribeye. I'm gonna go mac and cheese. I'm gonna go some mashed potatoes on the side, and forget the vegetables. I mean, if that's it, if it's my last day, I don't need any veggies. I think that's what I'm going with. That's a damn good meal right there. And then I'm gone. Then I'm done. All right, I got one other thing that I want to share with you guys here. I saw something random. I'm going to start doing this. If I see some random stuff and I want your guys' opinion on this, then I'm going to ask for your opinion on it. Does somebody want to tell me who's going to be sitting in this seat? Okay. I saw this yesterday, and I figure I might as well just start sharing some BS with everybody. It's the off season, we're sort of the off season. What is this? New double-decked economy class concept seat. Good idea. I don't want to be sitting where that dude is sitting. What the hell is this? Who's sitting there? Is anybody sitting there? Who's buying that ticket? What the hell is going on here? I got to pay $200, $300 and I'm right in front of this dude's ass? What's going on here? Who's sitting in that seat? I don't know. Are they actually selling these? Is this actually happening? I just thought that was hilarious. If I find some random stuff like this, I'm going to start incorporating this into the show. I just need random things at times here. I don't know what's happening here. I don't know what's happening here. Yeah, I'm not. No, thank you. I'm going to go ahead and not sit in that seat. All right, let's see if we got a couple more comments and we're going to call it a day. All right, I think we're good. I think we're done here. Back on tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. Thanks for the extra time. Great show as always. I appreciate that. Okay, back on tomorrow 8 a.m. We'll react, obviously, to the upcoming game, any other NBA stuff that's coming out. There's, listen, any other sports things, I'll be lobbing into here as well. But I'm just looking for topics that I think you guys would be interested in as well. I appreciate you guys hanging out. What do we get in here? 1 hour, $1.08 here today. Thank you for being a part of the show. Hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Enjoy the game tonight, Thunder and the Minnesota Timberwolves, and we will see you guys soon. Thank you, everybody. Hope you guys have a great rest of your day.